Well, people want him to fail too, which is fascinating to me.
Well, did you see the Bill Maher thing?
Side. No.
So Bill Maher on Friday said that he's hoping for a recession because that's how we'll get rid of Trump. Now, we talked a little bit about Bill before this thing, but like,
oh my God,
he's been a huge influence of mine. I like him. I used to want to be on the show. I've kind of moved past that at this point. But think about it. You know, Bill's probably worth $100 million or something. I have no idea. But like, he can afford living through a recession. But when people talk about the liberal elite that they hate, it's that type of person. It's this person on the coast who's like, yeah, have a recession so we can get rid of Trump.
I hope he does amazingly well.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope Trump does amazingly well and turns the country around. I hope he evolves his ideas as a human being. I hope he does mushrooms. I hope he grows to love people. Why would you hope for failure, especially failure for the whole country and sending people into a recession, which is undoubtedly going to cause suicides and turmoil and crisis, and people going to go into panic thinking and panic voting, which is not what you want. I mean, literally, that's what started Hitler. I mean, that's what started Nazi Germany, right? They were in the middle of a horrible recession, and this guy came along that proposed a solution. You're not going to get a better version of the future by people living in fear and poverty and sadness. Like, I didn't vote for Trump, but he's the president. I want him to do great. I don't agree with him on a lot of shit. He lies about a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Still want him to do great. You know why? Because he is the guy that's running the country. If he's running the country, I want the country to do well, no matter who's running it. Like, my thought was like, this is almost what it's like. It's like, I don't like this doctor, so when he fixes my knee, I hope he fucks it up.
Right, that's it. That's it.
It's really almost what it's like. It's like, he's the goddamn president. Okay, if you want him to be impeached because he's done some fucking horrible crime, which I've gone over all this Russian stuff. I still am not convinced that he did anything horrible. I don't see it.
Seems like the Democrats did more horrible things, or at least things that they've been caught on.
Something.
Yeah.
They definitely did something. And just what they did to Bernie Sanders alone should be a devastating blow to the credibility of the DNC. It really should be.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not is just blind allegiance. And that he could say, I hope for a recession. Maybe he said that without thinking. You know, maybe it was just a flippant remark, or
I'm pretty sure it was a package line.
I would never hope for a recession, no matter what. I hope the guy does fantastic, even if he's hated across the board. I hope he does an amazing job, and I hope the economy soars, and I hope people have more jobs, I hope there's a method to his madness. I really do. Why would anybody hope differently? I don't understand.
Well, I agree with that, and basically, and again, I voted for Gary Johnson. Look, if I had my choice, I'm pretty sure you know me well enough. Like, I would much rather have like a really bright, intellectual person who
You'd probably rather have Rand in. Right?
I'd much rather have Rand Paul. I'd rather have a libertarian who basically is kicking everything back to the states. But you know what? Trump is cutting a ton of regulation and doing a lot of states' rights stuff. The economy's doing really well. Do you have any sense that we're going to get into some intractable war in the Middle East to nation build? I don't think under his watch. There may be some level of some peace now in the North Korean peninsula. So
That's
it's like
a fascinating thing, man. I don't think anybody else would have done what he did with North Korea.
So
talked a bunch of shit to that guy, called him fat and short, and it was very funny. Like, what he does is kind of funny, and then he gets to have a meeting with the guy, and the guy agrees to a meeting with him. I think they're baffled by him. They don't know what to do with him. Because when North Korea and South Korea, when the presidents of the two countries met at the DMZ and shook hands, like, that was an historic moment.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they can get past all this fucking bullshit that's been going on forever. And if part of that was helped in some way by Trump being crazy, like, maybe it's good to have someone that fucks things up a little bit and mixes it up. It doesn't mean he's a perfect person. Man, doesn't mean he's not a liar.
Right-wing conservative neocon Joe Rogan. But think about it. So then, like, what does he do? So he brings in John Bolton, who's thought of as a neocon, like a warmonger neocon. And then he has Mattis as the Secretary of Defense, warmonger neocon. Maybe what he was doing is that he was scaring people from going, I'm going to bring in all these people who are really scary, who don't talk about peace that often, who talk about exercising our power and all of that stuff, so that Kim Jong-un is going to go, maybe this time they might actually depose me.
He's looking at Trump. He's like, this guy's fucking crazy.
Right. And by the way, this is where I would say my side in this, the libertarian side, is pretty weak on this, because a guy like Rand Paul, what he would say is, we should be cutting all military and never doing anything, blah, blah, blah. In which case, you can make a strong argument that you're constantly emboldening your enemies all the time, because if they know you never want to do anything, then it's not a great argument to get bad actors to stop doing things. But I think that's a great place to have a good conversation. And Rand Paul has supported a lot of the stuff Trump has done at the same time.
Yeah, I just don't understand the logic behind wanting a recession. I mean, I can understand the logic around wanting someone else to take over in 2 years or 3 years when the new elections take place, but
don't you think things are basically going pretty well right now? Like if you remove the Twitter hysteria, like remove just like hysteria stuff, like this he said, she said. Like in terms of what's happening in the country right now, Black and Latino unemployment all-time low, economy's chugging along, like the basic things that matter for a society are working. That's pretty good.
Right.
That's
now,
pretty good.
I don't know enough about this, but what's been explained to me is that a lot of this is the momentum of what Obama did when he was in office, and that the economy, he's riding the work of Obama. He's riding the wave of the previous administration's policies.
So I've had guys, I've had economists on my show argue kind of both sides of this thing. Most don't agree with that, but I've had probably more libertarian-leaning economists.
What did they think?
Well, because they're all about cutting regulation all the time, and Trump has been very good at that. I think it's something like, at one point it was like for every 63, or for every one regulation he passed, he cut something like 63 regulations. So if you're a libertarian economist or someone on the right, economically, you want the government out of all of that stuff. So they're very happy at the economic level right now.
Right.
But all right, but let's even say that's completely true what you just said there, that this is all just because of Obama stuff. Well, it's working. Like we've got a guy that maybe has just picked up the ball and he's the lucky guy and maybe he's going to get it to the next thing. But what I'm actually more enthused by is that I think after all this craziness that we're in right now, I actually think people are so starved for sanity and like a reset to decency. I actually think things are going to get much better. I think, again, this is where I think the conversations that we're all having are affecting things in a big way. And I think that even politically, it's going to start bubbling up. When I was in D.C. the other day, I was at a small dinner with a pretty influential senator who probably doesn't want me to say his name at the moment. I'm not going to say it, but I'll tell it to you later. But
Down the river.
It was somebody big, and he got it. He really got it. Like he knew about us, like this whole thing. And that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not sitting here like, oh my God, it's so amazing what we're doing. But there is something happening. And I think it will reach the political level too, that people will not want the hysteria anymore. And that eventually Trump will, because of his own craziness, become unnecessary. You won't always need the icebreaker. We needed the icebreaker to get all this shit out. Now it's all out. Everyone's reevaluating everything. And then out of that is going to grow. I mean, look, maybe it grows something horrible, right? Like maybe the Hitler comes. I obviously hope it doesn't happen. But what I think is that something decent's going to come.